Welcome to Advanced Prompt Usage, creating date range prompts. Our objectives for this lesson are to learn two methods to create date range prompts, to identify the differences between the two date range methods, to learn how to use custom and relative date ranges, and to learn about prompt extensions. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at our sample student data set. We have a list of students and some information about them. For this activity, we're going to focus on the birth date field. Specifically, we want to use prompts to limit our data set to students that were born in 1991. To get started, we're going to open up a new query builder, select our data set, tasks, data, query builder, and we're going to add all the fields to the select data tab. And I'm going to do that by collapsing the field tree and just bringing over the whole table. That'll add all the fields. I could also have selected each one or used shift click to select all of them. Next, we're going to open up the prompt manager, and remember that you can open up the prompt manager from inside the query builder or outside the query builder. Then we're going to click add to add a new prompt. We're going to name our prompt date prompt, following the SAS naming conventions, which exclude, for example, spaces. Then we're going to change the display text to select a birth date time period. We're going to make this a mandatory prompt by checking the box that says require a non-blank value. Then we're going to switch to the Prompt Type and Values tab. We're going to change the prompt type from text to date. Next, we're going to change the date type box that appeared from day to year. And we get an example on the right of how the date type will be displayed. We're not going to change any other options on the screen, so we can click OK to close the window. We can see that our prompt is listed on the Prompt Manager window. And finally, we can close the Prompt Manager window to return to the Query Builder. From our Query window, we're going to switch to the Filter Data tab, and we're going to add a filter to birth date using our prompt. Remember that even though we created the prompt by opening the Prompt Manager from within the Query Builder, the prompt is not connected to the query until we manually do that by creating a filter that uses the prompt value. So from the Filter Data tab, I'm going to go to the New Filter button, and I'm going to do a basic filter on the birth date, and you can confirm that it is a date field or in a date format by the small yellow date icon, which is, or calendar icon, which is different than the red character icon or the blue circle numeric value icon. Clicking next, I'm going to change my operator from equal to between, and this is because we're looking to limit the birth dates within a range between the beginning of 1991 and the end of 1991. And there's also an option for in a range, and I'm going to show you how that works a little later in this video. The next thing we're going to do is click the Generate Filter for a prompt value, because we need to ask the user what value they want for this prompt. And for the start value, I'm going to enter the prompt name. I can do that manually if I remember what I called it. I can just type in date prompt, or if I don't remember, I can use the small down arrow and move from values past columns to prompts, and there I have the same value beginning with an ampersand. For the end value, I'm going to use something called an extension. And so in this case, I'm going to type in the same prompt value, and I'm going to use underscore end, END. And that's going to automatically calculate in the background the end of our range. So because it's a single year, if we choose 1991, it's going to go from the start to the end. Then we'll click Next and Finish. Next, we're going to run the query, and we'll see that the prompt pops up, and we're given an option to choose a time period relative to the current year, previous year, next year, n years ago, or n years from now. To get to 1991 with this method, we'd go to the n box and we'd type in 27. And we'll see that the little preview in parentheses shows that that's going to get us to 1991 if we want to check our math. And then we're going to click Run to continue the query, and we get our results. If we look at our results set, when it loads, we'll see that the values that are returned should only be those with a birth date in 1991. And indeed that is the case. If we move from the Output Data tab to the Log tab, we can see that actually 4 values or variables, sometimes they're called macro variables in SAS, were created in the background. So we have a date prompt underscore label, which is the 27, n equals 27, or 27 years ago, the value that we entered. Date prompt underscore end is the end of that year that we talked about would be automatically calculated, December 31st, 1991. We have a little intermediate calculation underscore rel, and we have just the date prompt value itself, which was automatically set to, because we selected 1991, it was set to the beginning of the year, January 1st, 1991. So the next thing we're going to look at is the in a range operator instead of the between operator. Since the in a range operator that we're about to use is very similar to the between operator we were using, we're going to go through these next steps a little bit quicker. You can open your prompt manager by right-clicking on the query builder, saying Modify Query Builder, and clicking on the prompt manager task like we did the first time, and you'll see your date prompt is still there. Or by closing these, I want to remind you that you can also access your prompt manager from your sidebar, where it'll appear next to tasks, folders, servers, and then your prompt manager, and you'll see the same prompt, date prompt listed. If we right-click and edit or double-click it, we'll get a quick warning that this prompt is in use, and if we change it, there may be problems, but we accept those risks, and we'll get our prompt creation window back. We'll leave this first tab and the name of the prompt the same, and in the Prompt Types and Values tab, we're going to change from a prompt type of date to a prompt type of date range. And then we're going to change the date type again from day to year. And then we'll hit OK. Now our prompt is updated, and we can go back into our query, right-click Modify, into our Filter tab, and by double-clicking on our filter, we can update this side of things. This filter is using that prompt, and we're going to change from the between operator to the in a range operator. The first thing you'll notice is that the start date and end date boxes have disappeared, and we can double check that the generate filter for prompt value box is checked. Now we're going to add the date prompt to the value field and click Next and Finish to update that filter. When we run the query this time, we'll see that the prompt we're given is different. We're going to use a custom range type from, and we're going to type in 1991 to 1992. And hopefully that'll give us the same results as we got before, but let's take a look and see. I'll click Run to continue running the query, and when I open the results this time, we'll notice that a single 1992 birth date appears in our results set. This is because when we use inner range, it's inclusive of the minimum date of our end value. So it pulled January 1st, 1991 to January 1st, 1992. Going back to my prompt manager window and selecting the date prompt, accepting the risk of editing it. On the second tab, I can change from the date type of year to the date type of day. Hit OK without making any other changes. And this time, when I run my entire process flow, my custom range offers options such as today, yesterday, tomorrow, etc. and a little calendar icon that I can actually make selections from. This will allow me to type in a more specific range, such as January 1st, 1991 to December 31st, 1991. This will exclude that first day in 1992, and it transforms those a little bit to spell out the month. And when I hit Run and take a look at my results, I can see that all of my results are in 1991, which is exactly what I wanted. This concludes the Creating Date Range Prompts section of Advanced Prompt Usage. Thank you.